Perfect.
Hello, I have the lovely Paul with me. Hi, Paul. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, Donna. Great. Thanks for having me. My name is Paul Gitsham. I am the writer of the D.C. Warren Jones series, the latest of which, Time to Kill, came out 2 weeks ago. So we're still in that honeymoon period. The series is now, that's the 12th entry in the series, the 8th full length. I've got 4 novellas as well, and a short story in the latest Crime Writers anthology, which Music of the Night, which is just here on the shelf behind me, which is excellent. Not just because it's got my story in, but there's some really good stories in there. So well worth checking out. Music of the Night, Crime Writers anthology. Anyway, thank you for having me, Donna. And before we start, congratulations on your recent degree.
Thank you very much. Yes, it feels, still doesn't quite feel real actually, but yeah, thank you.
Fantastic.
And this is the second time you've been, isn't it? I've spoke to you before.
It is. Yes, we spoke about Out of Sight last time when it was released last year. So you very kindly agreed to have me on again to retread the same old anecdotes for this year's book.
See, you say that, but as we were saying just before we started recording, I've had a lot of practice since then.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like I've honed my craft some. So I will apologise in advance if I do ask you any questions I've asked you.
No, it's more a case of me shoehorning your question into an answer that I've already got. But you know what? Let's just go. You've not given me any preparation, which is brilliant. We're just going to see how it goes, which is what I love.
Yep. Well, if I can throw Mark Billingham, who's been interviewed God knows how many times, then I think I can throw you as well. So,
challenge accepted.
Good stuff. We will start off fairly boring with, did you always know that you wanted to write?
Oh, God, yeah. Ever since I'd sort of learned to read, which I was a little slow at doing, actually, because I was lazy. My dad used to be every night reading the same old Mr. Men books, you know. And my reception primary school teacher had this theory that kids would learn when they felt they were ready to learn. Brackets, me and Ian Flood just sat at the back of the class and flicked pencils at each other. I mean, good. You know, what the hell are we going to do? And it wasn't until I got to the next year when the wonderful Mrs. Sefton, who is still with us, she wasn't having any of that nonsense. And one night, Dad said to me in exasperation, I think he was reading Mr. Chatterbox for the 50 millionth time, for goodness sake, Paul, he says, you do realise if you learn to read, you can give yourself a bedtime story whenever you want. And it was just a light bulb. But why did no one ever say this before? And within a year or so, I'd read every book in the school. It was just that sort of push. Handwriting lagged a lot longer behind that, but no, the reading bit came quickly. And then I kind of realised, hang on a second, I wanted to write stories as well. And I don't know when I realised that writing stories was fun. I'm guessing we had some sort of activity in class, but I was always very good at making up stories, even though I realised I wasn't. So, for example, my mum recalls being in the playground one day to pick me up, and all the teachers coming up to her and saying how terrible it was to hear about the fire. And she's like, "What? Sorry." The house fire, the one that burnt your house down, and you've lost all your stuff and that. And I was like, what on earth are you talking about? She said, oh, Paul's been telling everybody about this fire. Well, I hadn't quite made that connection between what's in news and me thinking I've not done anything interesting this week, so I'll make something up. I hadn't kind of twigged you're not supposed to do that. So I told this amazing story, apparently, about how the fire brigade came and we had to be rescued. And all complete and utter fabrication. And so, I'm guessing that was one of my first forays into fiction writing. And then from then on, it was fun. It was always the best part of the English lesson was if we did creative writing. And then I kept it going in just sort of, I always had something on the go. Even through university, I had something, and I look back at them, and there's mostly really bad Star Trek fiction, which, because I never planned anything, never really got beyond the first massive battle with the Romulans, and then it was like, and what now? I loved the writing bit, and it wasn't until, I guess, I was about 15 years or so ago, I was underemployed, I believe is the technical term. and I entered NaNoWriMo, the 50,000 words in a month. I knew I wouldn't hit 50,000. I knew that wasn't going to happen, but it allowed me to break the back of a book I was writing, and it was a science fiction one. And I wrote about 30-odd thousand words while sitting behind a receptionist's desk. They didn't care. It was evening shift. As long as I was nice to the customers, I could do what I wanted. And so I used to split my time between NaNoWriMo and applying for jobs. And I continued writing that book on and off for the next few years. And once I'd left science and became retrained as a science teacher, I realized I needed a hobby of some description. And I found that a local college was doing creative writing classes. I just thought they were always really good fun in school. I just wanted a hobby, something, and I didn't mind having a bit of homework. That was great. It was, and my tutor, Danielle Joando, who's doing really well at the moment, writing young fiction. She used to set these fantastic homework activities, and so I continued writing this sci-fi novel. Sort of as I would often use it as a sort of answer to one of the homework. I mean, I'd never managed to make a Shakespearean sonnet out of it, which was one of the homeworks. But often, if it was like a character description homework, then I'd say I take one of the characters from the book, and it's fantastic. You really learn your craft. And I did 2 or 3 of her courses, including an advanced one where I wrote a short story, and it was a Warren Jones short story, and that is difficult to get hold of at the moment. I'm thinking of re-releasing it at some point. It was in just an anthology for a writers' circle that I joined about 10 years or so ago, and that helped hone the craft. And then eventually I hit on the idea of Warren Jones about, I think I worked it out about 11 years ago when I first started writing that. So I found the first Word document, and it had a creation date of April 2011, I think it was. So I've been writing in it ever since. That was the first book I ever finished. Suddenly, just everything kind of came together, and I realized this is what I should be writing, not the other stuff I tried. Not that I regret doing them. They always say you should. I think someone said you should throw away 300,000 words before you published, because you need, very few people can come straight out the gates and write. So all of that, that stuff that's littering your hard drive, or in my case also in brightly coloured textbooks that exercise books that I've pinched from school, as a pupil, not teacher, they're all in a drawer which Mum found the other day. All of those sorts of things, they're practice, and the fact that they'll never be published, never see the light of day, doesn't matter, because I'd written probably 300,000 words before I started writing the first book that got published. They always say you look at a sprinter who's come out of nowhere, no one's ever heard of them, but you think, but for 10 years they've been at their local running club. Writing's no different.
If you were to be picked up and transported into one of your books as a character, which book would you choose?
Oh, which book? Oh, tricky. You see, the problem is Warren has a hard time with it, because I don't give him any sleep. He's dealing with some pretty nasty people, and sometimes deeply unpleasant things happen to him and his family as well. So yeah. I have to say, Out of Sight, which was last year's book, that was a nice meaty investigation, and it was really interesting to delve into this poor man's background. Basically, it was a body found underneath a bridge, had the teeth smashed and the fingertips cut off. So clearly, trying to make it difficult for the police to identify them. So that was his first obstacle, and I really enjoyed delving into that, because that's what I call a small story. It only had one victim initially, and that kind of I got to focus on what the repercussions of that on his circle. Whereas this year's one is I haven't done one for a while. It's a serial killer book, so that's what I call a big book. It doesn't do with length. It's to do with the fact that this book hits many, many different people, because it could be anybody. As the tagline says, you don't know when the next person is going to be there. No, it's probably going to be on a Sunday night. That's all they have. It could be literally anybody, because the victims just don't seem to be related at all. So that one is this Time to Kill. I'm not sure I want to be in that book, because I'm not nice to him. I'm not nice to him, and it's a very stressful experience for him. Not to mention it could be anybody. So he could be next.
And if you were to pick one of your characters to take out for a meal, who would you choose and what would you ask them? Right.
Well, this is interesting because this is where it sounds really weird, because I've always told everyone how Warren Jones is basically wish fulfillment, and he is a thinly veiled version of me. However, when crafting him, I also decided he would be he had to pass what I call the Friday night pint test, which is where he's a sort of bloke you'd quite happily sit and have a pint with. So that's tricky. I'll be having a pint with myself, which has happened in the past, but fortunately not since I met my wife. Therefore, I'm going to choose a different character. I have a character who I fall in love with. She's fantastic fun to write, called Rachel Pym. Now, Rachel is the officer in the case, which is a role where basically she's in charge of keeping the Holmes database up to date. She's like an information manager. But she's just tremendously good fun to write. Now, she's an interesting character in that she actually has multiple sclerosis, which is why she's an officer in the case. Before her diagnosis, she was an active detective sergeant. But obviously, with multiple sclerosis being a progressive illness that causes mobility issues, she had to move her career. And I checked with the police, and I emailed the Disabled Police Officers Association, basically said, is this possible? They went, yeah, we've got quite a few police officers with mobility issues and these sorts of conditions. And yes, they if they wish to stay with the police, they can find a role like that. And I have a former colleague who has multiple sclerosis, and he reads my books. And I did go up to him one day and I said, Richard, mate, I said, I'm going to write this new character. I said, and before I finish it, do you want me to be a technical advisor? I was like, well, I was going to ask that, but yes, please. So I had long chats with him. But the reason I want to go out for dinner with her is that she's a laugh. I'm really enjoying writing her. She's got a acerbic sense of humor. She quite often says things that are in her head. She hasn't got a tremendous filter. She constantly nags Warren about drinking too much caffeine. She has a peculiar penchant for herbal teas, which was based on another colleague who we just look at it and say, Sam, what in God's name is in your mug? And she used to have a glass mug as well. You know, the one so you can see the twigs and leaf matter at the bottom of the mug. And you look at it, you go, dear God, woman, what are you drinking? And you sniff it and you go, is that extra strong mints with a hint of woodland and feces? Because that's what it appears to be. So anyway, I just put a lot of this in there, and she's great. She's really good fun. I wouldn't say she always gets all the best lines, but she is funny, and she has a really annoying habit, and at least annoying to Warren, of she's a bit like Columbo. One last thing, she'll wait until he's halfway across the office and say, oh, and there's one more thing, and he has to come back. Yes, tremendously good fun, and she'd be a real laugh. Go out for a pint with her. Yeah.
Okay, so on the opposite end of the scale, which character gives you most trouble?
Oh, right. Okay. That's tricky, see, because most of my characters are actually quite nice. They're not especially unpleasant. But certainly in the earlier books, his boss, DSI Grayson, wasn't that much fun. Basically, he's somewhat venal. He's very kind of career oriented and lazy, frankly. And what he would do is, Warren comes in as a detective chief inspector, so he shouldn't be interviewing people and running around and stuff. Grayson's quite happy to let him do that, and he's automatically, Grayson would be appointed as senior investigating officer, and he immediately delegated that to Warren. And that's fine from Warren's point of view, because he gets to combine the managerial side of being a senior police officer, along with he's still got boots on the ground. It's that wonderful fiction thing that would never happen in real life, but I explain it away each book. And certainly in the first books, they butt heads a few times. Grayson's very political, doesn't realise that he's a bit of a knobhead, actually, because he's desperate for the first few books to get one last promotion, because then you get a higher final salary pension, which is something that's long since gone now. But he's old enough officer that it would still apply. I did actually research this, and so he spends a lot of time brown nosing with the boss. With the bosses down in Welwyn Garden City, where Hertfordshire Constabulary is based, and he plays golf with them and things like that. And initially, he did start off as a foil to Warren, and throughout the series, they butt heads over things where he disagrees with what Warren's done. But he does evolve, and actually, towards the end of the series, we start to realise he's recently, him and Warren have developed a friendship of sorts. And respect for each other. They're never going to be the sort who go down a pub each night for a pint, but they've become a lot warmer. So early Grayson, I would say, wouldn't be that much fun necessarily when you go out.
A question that I stopped asking but seems to get fun answers recently is how you name your characters.
Oh, I'm sure other people are giving much more fun reasons than I. So I'm useless at it. I hate it. So the initial name of the characters is literally character trait _ character trait. Basically, because I name my characters typically towards the end of the book. There's a few, sometimes you hear a really good name, you say, that's perfect, you just start using it immediately. Other ones, so for example, in this book, the initial murder takes place on New Year's Eve. And there's witnesses who come up later in the book. And there's two of them, there's a male and a female. And literally, they were called NYE_man and NYE_woman. And that was what they were called, right up until the sort of putting together the final draft. And then I had to go and actually figure out how I was going to call them. So there is a character in this book, I'm not going to say which one, who won a competition. So that was fun, use them. Always slightly nerve-wracking, because you've got to figure out what your strategy is going to be. If, for example, I've already got a significant character with a very similar name, in which case, because it's for charity, you think, how am I going to honour this? I suppose I could slip in a brother or sister possibly, but it would be shoehorning. So then I suppose I'd have to go and say, look, can't necessarily use your name. Is there any chance you can donate it to a friend as a present? So there's that person. The rest of them, well, I've had to stop using my bookcase because I've run out of names of my bookcase. So I was literally used to just look at my bookcase and choose an author's first name and an author's final name and say that'll do. But more recently, Scrivener, software package that a lot of writers use for writing, has name lists built in, and it will automatically give you a list of names. And again, I don't just take them, I read through them. It gives you inspiration. I've had colleagues, former colleagues. There's a former colleague actually who appears in one of my books, who he's a physics teacher, and he was formerly in the Royal Navy, and his degree is actually in meteorology, and then he left the Royal Navy and he trained up as a science teacher. So obviously, if his degree's in meteorology, we're going to call him a geography teacher, aren't we? Because frankly, that's what it is. So we used to give him packs of crayons because we figured if he's a geography teacher, we'd be good at colouring in. Anyway, we just wound him up by that all the time. So naturally, when I set a book in a school and I had to have a character who was a teacher, and I thought, well, the teacher's going to be a geography teacher, and I'm going to give him his name. So yeah, so former colleagues appear. My ongoing crime scene manager, Andy Harrison, named after a good friend at school. And it was quite funny. It took a few years for him to get around to reading the books. And so he never quite figured out why everyone thought it was hilarious that I called this character after him. Well, if you knew the real life Andy, Andy is whip thin, bold, and full of nervous energy. My Andy Harrison in the books is a short, fat, rotund Yorkshireman with a ponytail and a really laconic hair. So basically took every character trait of the real life Andy and flipped it. And it wasn't until he left school, he went to do something different, and we bought him a Kindle. And so the first thing he did was, I suppose I want to read one of Paul's books. And he just texted me, a ponytail. So that was really good fun. That was really good fun.
So out of all of the character traits, it was the ponytail that really irritated him.
Yes, I think it was jealousy. If I'm absolutely honest, it was jealousy. He's got a twin brother, and his twin brother's got a full head of hair, apparently. I don't know how this works genetically, and we're both geneticists. We've never figured it out.
No. Oh, yeah, genetics is crazy. Who the hell knows? Oh, brilliant. Yeah,
This is alcohol-free, children. Just want to point that out. Yeah. Sorry, yes.
Yeah, I've been named in a few books. And I'm starting to wonder what the hell my reputation is. The first book, I was a sex-mad politician who took a few young boys to my hotel room.
Fantastic.
Then the next book, I was selling myself for sex to pay off debts. So, but luckily, the third book, I'm a police officer, so that's fine. Happily married. But what the hell?
To be fair, I have when I've used the names of colleagues and stuff, or people have won characters. I have got a rule that I don't give them the really unpleasant character. I'm quite careful about that. So, for example, if I've had a sex offender or something in a book, I would never use a real life person, because whilst we could all have a laugh about it, and they'll have a laugh about it initially, I just feel uncomfortable about linking a real person to this really unpleasant fictional person. So yes, I mean, I will have fun with people, but it's a bit much. I noticed we were talking about Mike Craven, NW Craven's latest, the botanist, just before it came on, and I noticed a few familiar names cropping up in there. Particularly a surgeon, which made me laugh. So they're good friends. I mean, if anyone's not read, by the way, the Botanist or any of my M.W. Craven's Washington Poe and Tilly series, seriously, do yourself a favour. They are absolutely brilliant, aren't they? Really, really good.
Tilly easily is one of the best characters in fiction by an absolute mile. Like,
she's just tremendous,
just perfect in every way, just brilliant. And the scene in the press conference with Tilly, do you know which bit I'm talking about? That I was crying, laughing because.
That could be one of several. Scenes.
There were a few, but I think that one was the best.
Yeah.
He was talking and she was saying he's here, or something, or no, the whatever her name is was saying he's here. She was talking about something. Yeah. Anyway, it was.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, she's just superb. And what's wonderful is that they're a fantastic balanced couple. Washington Poe, the grumpy middle-aged male detective, and then you've got this wonderfully naive young woman who's just completely absolute genius off the scale and has so limited social skills, and they put the two together, and that combination is just magic. It's
she
brilliant.
Has no filter at all.
No.
She gets better, but my
yes, exactly. I don't want to give anything away because I interviewed him a couple of weeks back, and the interview is going to go up on Shots Mag. But I sort of said we talked a little bit about his about the character arcs, and I said, how much do you plan? And he said, I've got a few ideas, and there's a couple he suggested. I just thought, that would be worth the cover price alone if you do that with her. So yes, there should be some fun stuff in future books. If people have not read him, M.W. Craven, absolutely brilliant. Start with the puppet show, because that's the first in the series, but Washington, Poe, and Tilly Bradshaw meet for the first time, and that's the start of their friendship. And I think that is brilliant, because all the books are brilliant, and you could read them in any order, but it's just lovely if you see it at the genesis of that friendship, and then you can watch it evolve over the next few books. And short stories, there's 2 or 3 short stories knocking around. I just read one, Killing, I think it's called Killing Season. It was one of these easy reads,
good,
you know.
Yeah,
with the reading agency.
Yeah,
and it's brilliant. The reading agency, for people who don't know, is a charity that is aimed towards promoting literacy in adults in particular. It's been very popular, for example, with prisoners, because an awful lot of people who end up in prison have very limited literacy skills whatsoever, but they want a good story like anybody else. And you know, if we can get in them a love of reading and writing, and it improves their skills, then perhaps that's something that will help them in later life. But it goes beyond that. They're very cheap. They're £1, little thin paperbacks. The language is brought down to make it more accessible, but it doesn't matter, because it's still a Tilly and Poe book, and you know, you still laugh out loud. Everything is there. I'm really impressed, actually, by the way that he's taken that brief. And I know Vasim Khan's done one, and there's quite a few big name authors have written these short stories, and they're just they've managed to somehow capture the essence of their series, even though they've made it more accessible. And it's definitely not the poor relation of these other books. It's superb. So yes, do yourself a favour, people. And Mike definitely has your point now. I haven't seen him for 3 years. Last time I saw him was at Crime Fest. He and myself and Vasim Khan had a spirited debate over Star Wars. And Mike and I are basically on the same page. Vasim, being Vasim, was deliberately contrary, and it was very good fun.
Yeah, so, I can imagine. I love Vasim. He's great as well.
Oh, it's good fun.
He's amazing. Lots of fun. Yeah. He told me off when I spoke to him. Bless him. Yeah. I always get told off, actually, by everybody.
Well, there you go then. You go to Harrogate?
I am.
Ah, superb. I'll actually see you in person, which would be lovely.
Yay! I'm going to most of them, which is why I'm very poor.
Yes, yeah, it does mount up, doesn't it?
Very poor. Yeah.
I went to Crime Fest, which was back on again this year, back in at the beginning of May, and that was absolutely terrific, because we hadn't seen people for so long. It was just lovely to sit there and make new friends. Spent an evening sitting chatting with Andrew Grant, who is, of course, the younger brother of Lee Child and has taken on the Jack Reacher series. And Lee Child, if you've ever met him, is a lovely man. He really is. But he does have a little bit of an air of being a superstar around him. So you do feel a bit tongue-tied when you first meet him. Andrew hasn't quite got that yet, and is a very, very pleasant man to spend an evening just chatting with. He really is a lovely guy. So
yeah, it's interesting. I'm really friendly with Hobet Books, and they interviewed him for their podcast, which I listened to this morning when I was making sandwiches at work, and I thought, what a lovely man.
He is. Yeah.
Absolutely. Just by him, chatting to them, I thought, what a really, really nice guy. You know, he wasn't fazed by their questions or their craziness, which they are a little bit off the wall. Didn't just went over his head, and he just chatted away like he'd known them. It was really, and I thought, I like you. You're cool. Yeah,
Lee's very pleasant. I mean, I'm the first couple of times I met him, I was very sort of awestruck, because he's my favourite writer, and tongue-tied. And I persuaded him to do a selfie and to troll my pregnant sister at the time, because by basically hoping that her child was brought up as a Villa fan. Now, anyone who knows the background, that Lee or Jim, he came from Coventry, but was brought up in Birmingham. And Coventry City fans and Aston Villa fans historically have a massive rival, and he's a Villa fan, which to someone like my sister, who died in the war, Coventry City fan, is horrendous. Somebody born in Coventry who supports Villa, she just. So it was fun to get him to troll her. Well, that was great. And then, but then later in the evening at Crime Fest, the old venue for Crime Fest is a very nice outdoor area where you could just sit and chat. And I was sitting with a few. I think Kevin Wignall was there and a couple of others just shooting the breeze. And he came out and we were just, oh, put up a chair, Lee. Put up a chair, sat down. And yeah, and he suddenly wasn't Lee the superstar anymore. He was Lee chatting with a group of fellow writers, mostly about the place he lives in Wyoming. You know, it's just really genuinely pleasant conversation because he was kind of away from having to be Lee Child, the character. If you've ever read the biography by Heather Martin, which is superb, the Reacher guy, there is Jim Grant, the person, then there's Lee Child, the persona, and the two are not necessarily entirely related. And although we called him Lee because that's how he's known to everyone, you know, I think we were talking to Jim Grant for a bit, which was nice. It was really nice.
Yeah.
Andrew's the same. Andrew's really nice bloke. Yeah.
I think Lee follows me on Twitter, which is
I'm never quite sure whether it's him or his the people who manage his account. But after he announced his retirement, obviously, and there was an interview with Heather Martin, which I watched, which was very, very good. And I went online and spoke to Heather, and she follows me now because I reviewed her book eventually. And I asked if he that was it. If we completely stop him, would he ever be tempted to write the odd short story just to keep his hand in? And the response came back that quickly that I thought, yeah, I think this might actually be him responding. And with the time difference, it made perfect sense that he'd be sort of online at that time. And the bad news was no, he's pretty adamant that's it. He's not going to write short stories. Mm-hmm. I imagine he's got something to do with the Jack Reacher TV series. I know he's up there as an executive producer. I wouldn't be surprised because his previous work he has anonymously edited scripts and stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised if he just keeps it quiet, but has a bit of a hand in doing some of the scripts because that's what he used to do. But no, he is retired, which is a shame. But then Andrew, I think, he's going to find his own pace, and I think the series will evolve more, but it has to evolve because it's 25 years old now, and you know, like in the latest one, Reacher used a mobile phone. I mean, it's 2022. He has to be able to use a mobile phone. We just can't. Yeah. He has to move on slightly.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. I'm glad that it's actually Lee Child that follows me then, because he's commented a few times.
Yeah.
It's my little sort of fangirl moment. I have a few occasionally because I'm still like nothing really. I'm not, like still at the bottom. So yeah, like when Sir Ian Rankin, as he is now, walked past me at Harrogate and says good morning, I'm just like, ooh.
I know, isn't that brilliant? Well deserved.
It's amazing. Yeah,
no, he's another lovely one. He's another lovely guy. Have you seen the shortlist for the Theakston's Old Peculiar Award this year?
I have.
Yeah, I mean, what's fascinating about that, and I agreed immediately, was Steve Mosby said this. He said, you look at all 6 of those people, and the first thing people often say when they say, oh, do you know Mick Herron? Do you know Ellie Griffiths? Do you know? The first thing they say, oh, yes, Len, aren't they lovely? And there are 6 really nice, genuinely nice people who it's pleasant to spend time with. And obviously, like you said, it's about the books. It is about the books. But isn't it lovely that 6 very nice human beings happen to be the ones who've also written the books this year that have been shortlisted? And it's, you know, there are often people who can be a bit gripey sometimes about who wins and a bit sniffy. And you look at this and you think, well, do you know what? People aren't going to be over these. Not if they're real crime fans and fans of the genre and know these people. No matter who wins, everyone's going to say, "Oh, lovely, that's nice. I'm really pleased they've won." So,
and you know that the other 5 are going to be happy for them as well, which is going to be really lovely, isn't it?
Yeah, I think they'll be very supportive of each other. So, yeah, lovely to see that. Maybe that's what we should be doing you know, because the way that these prizes are evolving, we know obviously it's a big push to try and improve diversity. which is really need, that's something that's really got to be tackled on all fronts. But also sometimes, having seen how certain authors, not so much in crime, but in other fiction, other genres have acted, prizes, maybe there should also be a criteria that they have to be nice. They get put out to a panel of people say, "Are they really nice? Do you like them?" No, they're not. Oh, okay, right then. Maybe we won't put them on a short list. You only get the short list if you're a genuinely nice human being.
See, that's the funny thing, actually, you say that. It's like, sometimes if I see things and I only know one author or I really like, someone, whereas the shortlist this year, I like them all. So I genuinely voted for my favourite book instead of voting for the person that wrote it. I actually voted for the book that I thought was best out of all of them.
And occasionally, for us mere mortals who can't keep up your reading pace, we often vote for the one book on the 6 that we've read, and the fact that you might not have read all 6 yet, but you've read others in the series and you like them, you think they're good, right? That makes voting for something a bit easier. Haven't decided who my vote's going to yet. I haven't decided. So
mine was easy. Mine.
Well, I haven't said that. Do we vote for this one? I might be talking nonsense here.
No, you do. Yeah, you can.
You can. Right.
Voted,
okay.
So yeah,
right.
You can.
Okay.
Yeah, mine was easy. I read
my
it.
My vote is not for sale.
4 hours. The book that I voted for. So
brilliant.
Yeah.
My vote is not for sale. Just want to make that absolutely clear. I am unimpeachable.
Yeah, I wondered whether it's going to get to a point where people are going to start trying to bribe me, but no.
no, it's not worth it, is it really?
No. I'm still mostly known by indie authors. I'm still not that known by the big authors, so I'm not.
Well, that's what Harrogate's for. That's what I love about Harrogate, actually, is who just randomly come up and talk to you. The only slight, and it's not a criticism, that's the wrong word to use. The only slight drawback is that, unlike Crime Fest, where everyone has a name badge on, Harrogate you don't. And so you do have to do that whole British thing about, I know your face, I've spoken to you, and I cannot remember your name. So you're desperately trying to look for a clue. There's one person I've seen every year for years, and I always forget their name. And I mean, he and I have sat outside and chatted for hours, and it's embarrassing. Whereas at Crime Fest, it's great, got a badge on. Crime Fest, actually, this year they printed the badges, the names were a bit too small. So people were turning upside down, writing bigger letters.
Yes, because I do this.
Mm-hmm.
My friend was like, "Oh, you'll know everybody." I'm like, "You must be joking." Like, I'm getting towards 300 interviews now, and some people in America and some people I've interviewed 3 or 4 times and stuff. But
yeah. I have taken to, and I do this, I've been doing this for years, and that is, I go up to someone who I know, and if it's not someone I might not know very well, or I might know them extremely well. If I know extremely well, like Vazim, I've known for years, and he's never going to, forget who I am. But I will automatically just stick my hand out and say, "Hi, Paul Gitsham, good to see you," because I know that they will reflexively probably give me their name, but also, even if I know their name, I know it's entirely possible that they've forgotten who I am, particularly after this massive hiatus we've had with COVID. So do them a favor, I just give them a name. I mean, no one's going to say go take the hump because I introduced myself using my name, but they might be secretly grateful. And I know at least one author who has is it, I could never pronounce it, propagnasia, whatever it is, where a face blindness.
Can't recognise,
Yeah. And obviously there are authors out there who you may not realise are actually visually impaired, and they don't carry white sticks, so you don't realise that. So I've got to the point now where I think it's actually just good manners if I just stick my hand out and say my name. Spares anybody embarrassment, and we go from there. And who knows, maybe they'll remember me.
Yeah. I mean, I say it's unlikely that people aren't going to recognise me because generally I have bright pink hair. So if you don't know who I am, then you just don't know me, and that's fine.
Why do you think I'm sitting in the house with my head sweating underneath his hat?
Yes,
I usually have braces on as well, but I'm wearing shorts at the moment, and the braces I can't put on them. So, braces and a hat. And someone actually said to me at Crime Fest when I mentioned it, and they said, "Well, it actually is a memorable look." You remember Paul Gitsham? Who's he? Oh, he's the one with the hat and the braces. Well, you know what? So what? That's great. That's a visual reference that helps people. Yeah.
Yeah, I did get recognised at Harrogate last year. And the guy was just a reader, I think, and I had no idea who he was. I know now, but
yeah,
it's like, you're Donna, aren't you? And I'm like, yeah. Like, you do the interviews, don't you? I'm like, yeah.
I embarrassed myself big time at Grimefest when I happened to be. I've gone to one of the sort of evening parties. I've been invited. It was a book launch. A friend was having a book launch, so we got invited, just a few of us, to go and have a drink in a bar. And great, it's lovely. And there's a few people there I knew and a few I didn't. And this one guy, I spent ages sort of doing that kind of hanging around. You know, you want to speak to someone. Eventually went over and told him how much I loved his latest book, and his response was eventually, we have to look at me, he said, "Sorry, who do you think I actually am?" Yeah, it turns out he's a big name. He's a big name executive at my publisher, which is good. So I completely mixed him up with a crime writer. However, the good thing was he thought it was hilarious. So as did other people around there, and we spent 10 minutes chatting about times we've done something similar in public. He's done it before, and we parted on very good terms. But yes, it was a brief swallow me up moment. Yeah. And looking back on it, whilst facially very similar, I think, hang on a second, the person I thought it was feigned for something else physical about them. So notice how careful I'm being here, physical about them. And it's like, no, he doesn't. Why did I think that? I just looked at the face and went, oh, that looks a bit like him. Off I went.
I mean, it is hard, isn't it? We said that we're going to take a notebook and have photos and names, but then your author photos generally don't look like you, because obviously you want to look, and stuff. So that's not really going to help.
Or he just took them many years ago. There's the other one, yeah.
So yeah, we're just going to have to wing it. I mean, I saw Simon Koenig and I recognised his face, and I wasn't expecting him to be there, I guess. But he was with Chris Whitaker, and I wanted to speak to Chris. And then I think he must have said something. I'm like, and I'm like, I love your books, and I'm still trying to get him for an interview anyway. But yeah, just didn't click, even though I knew his face. So annoying. But yeah.
Yeah, Simon's good fun, actually, isn't it? He's a great guy.
Very tall.
And he is a tall bloke.
I was telling him off. I'd been really shy all weekend for some reason. I mean, I've done loads of these now and it's fine. But last Harrogate, I was really shy and wouldn't go up to anyone. And but Chris, I've been trying to get for an interview for ages, because obviously he was reading everything.
Yeah.
So it's quite hard.
I've just started reading it finally.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
You can see
we begin at the end.
Yeah.
Superb.
And then Simon was laughing because I was telling Chris off, and I'm like, well, actually, I've been messaging you, trying to get you for an interview, and I was pointing at him, and he was like, oh, okay. Fine.
No, it'll be a good interview.
What am I doing? And I'm like looking at him like this because he's so freaking tall.
Have you ever interviewed Kevin Wignall?
No.
Kevin's good fun, actually. He's got a great sense of humour, and he's very, very, very sharp, very witty. But he's interesting because he's written some very good thrillers, and I really enjoyed them. But he's also started branching out into young adults. And it is a very bizarre situation where he's got this fantastic book about a plane crash with teenagers on board in the jungle. And all over the world, it's been sold and people are saying how good it is. It's been translated. Can you get a publisher in this country? Just like, what? Absolutely bonkers. Yeah. I mean, it's been part of the school curriculum in some places, and they still haven't got one. I don't know if that's changed since I last spoke about it, but just like, that's ridiculous. But yeah, Kevin's good. He's worth speaking to. It's quite a few. Chris, I've sort of met Chris Whitaker, met at things. He's very witty, and very very good. And I've just started reading We Begin at the End, and I mean, it's not what I was expecting in terms of the use of language. Very, very sophisticated literary use of language, really. And I could see why people were raving about it. I mean, about 80 pages in, so that's that, you know, the real mystery hasn't started to get explained, but there's an awful lot of intrigue at the moment, and the characters that I've met so far have really grabbed me, and I can see just from that early start, yeah, that's why it was so popular.
Yeah.
Or just read Will Dean's latest as well.
Oh yeah, Firstborn.
Yeah, that was good. That was lots of twists on that one.
You get to sort of just after halfway, and then he just
goes 53%.
Yeah,
53%.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I just went, whoa. And my wife's like, what? I was like, that was a twist I did not see coming. Wow. I was like, that's brilliant. That's what I said about how wonderful it was for about 30 seconds before I could go back to carry on reading it. Very good. And it wasn't the only twist. There was a couple of others that snuck up in you as well.
It was really funny because I interviewed him before I'd read it. So he said, oh, everyone keeps messaging me saying, what the fuck? And I'm like, okay. So then I got to that point and I'm like, what the fuck? What the hell was that?
Superb. Yeah, really, really good. Yeah. And so different to his previous one, because his previous standalone, The Last Thing to Burn, that was really good, but completely different to this. And obviously that's been shortlisted for everything, including the Theakston, and rightly so. But prior to that, I'd read his Tuva Moodyson books. Now, I've not read Bad Apple, the latest one, for the sole reason that there are a number of books I keep back as little treats. So I exercise some self-control and say, I'm not going to dive into that immediately. I'm going to put that on one side and I'm going to savor that. So he's on the savor list for Bad Apples. So I'm really looking forward to that. There's a couple of others like that. Eddie Flynn books by Steve Kavanagh. I might force myself to hold them back for a few weeks before I go and treat myself. And I was doing that, I must admit, with Mike Craven's books, but
you can't.
I got the opportunity to get an earlier copy of the Botanist. I was not going to turn that down, I can tell you. So it's literally a case of finishing the book I was on and going straight in. And the book I was on was Victoria Selman's latest, Truly Deeply Darkly. That's brilliant. I shoved that one straight in my recommended reads blog, because I have my recommended reads blog. It's not everything I read. There's no star ratings or anything like that. It is literally, if I've really enjoyed a book and I think everyone else should be reading it, I put my review on there. So all my reviews on there are remarkably positive and not quite often gushing. But the point is, it's because it's recommended reads. It really is what it says on the tin. So I don't put anything on there just because, you know, it's the latest. Everyone says you should read this, and I read it and I think, oh, it was all right. I won't bother putting that on there. I'd sort of save it for the other ones. By the way, there are also other books that I've read, haven't had time to review, and it's just been long enough that I can't review them now, because I won't feel I'll do it justice. So the fact that somebody's book isn't on there doesn't necessarily mean I didn't enjoy it. It just means that I just didn't have time to review it, amongst everything else that I do. So
if you read Graham Bartlett's book?
Not yet. I asked if I could to review it for crime for Shots Mag, but unfortunately somebody else has just picked me to the post. So I shall definitely be reading it though, because he's really nice guy, and he does
just one of the nicest humans possible.
Yeah,
he really is
superb. Yeah, you wouldn't expect that for such a senior police officer who doesn't see what you'd think there'd be. I mean, I don't know, maybe when he goes home there's a hard-nosed cynicism, but I don't get that impression.
No, well, he put a message. He was going away somewhere doing something, and about how much he loved his wife and stuff. So he can't be. And
he's very proud of his son who's just joined the police. Yeah.
He's always goes to watch his son, because he's got triplets, hasn't he? So he always goes to watch one when they're refereeing like really low level games and stuff. So
he's very supportive of that.
Yeah. Some people make you sick, don't they?
Yeah, because that was what to be fair, that's what I said about Mike Craven's Botanist. I said if he wasn't such a nice bloke, I'd hate him, because his book is it's absolutely superb. I mean, it's just so good. It's just ticked all those boxes. I mean, on his books I need to read at some point are his Avison Fluke series, which is which was his first couple of fiction books before he changed and switched to Washington and Tilly. And I think I want to, I really want to read that. Just see him, because I'm told it has a lot. It is very much him writing. He's got a lot of his hallmark writing, but it's him at an earlier stage, which should just be really interesting to see intellectually, I think.
Yeah. I've read one of them. I haven't read both of them, but I enjoyed it. And Graham Bartlett's at Harrogate, and he banned me from sitting in the front row. He's on a panel.
I hope he's there this year.
Yeah, he is. He's on a panel. I don't know if it's with Will Dean or Tony Kent. I can't remember one of them. And he told me that I wasn't allowed to sit in the front row. I don't know why. Like, what does he think I'm going to do? Honestly,
I think I must have got a ticket for it. I mean, if I've lost track of what tickets we got. We've been so busy over the last few weeks that I kind of lost track. We did our usual thing of sitting there waiting for the Harrogate thing to open, and learned the hard way that you don't open all your bookmark, all the pages you want of tickets, because as soon as you bought one ticket, all of the other tabs go to you bought a ticket page. And you lose. So I had to, what I did was I bookmarked them all, and it was like a factory. Bang, bought it. Bang, bought it. Cheryl's in her office. So I've got this one. So between us, working out what we've got, and we've got the author dinner, which we love. I've won we've solved and kind of won the murder mystery 2 years in a row. So last time we won it properly. We were with Craig Robertson, again another great writer, by the way. He's lovely. He was our featured author. I already knew Craig, but it was nice to be on a table with him. He was promoting the photographer at the time. We won that. We got the big bundle of books and that. The year before, Lee Child had written the murder mystery. So of course, I mean, that was just like, Lee Child's written it, then I'm definitely doing this. And at the end, he's sort of reading it out, and we're like, we've won it, we've got it. Gets the end of it, doesn't mention us. Turns out the dozy waiter that we gave our answer sheet to didn't hand it in. I was like, of all the years to miss, would be that it's the year that Lee Child has done it. So as far as we're concerned, we've won it 2 years in a row. Even if it was never recognised the first time.
Yeah, I was debating about them. I don't know if there's still tickets left, and I wasn't sure if Malcolm Hollandrake was coming up because he took me for a meal last time. So if he did, then I won't be able to go to that. But he's coming the day before, so. Yeah,
well, there's two this year. I think they did it last year because of the social distancing. This year, regardless of whether they're distancing, they've decided that it worked. The demand is there. And we knew which one we wanted because we looked at some of the authors on there and thought, right, okay. But you never know which table you're going to be on. And this is one person in particular whose table we'd love to be on, but, it doesn't matter. It's just good fun. We just really enjoy it. We've done a couple of the ones you can buy online. We've done them. We did them during lockdown to keep us entertained, and they were good fun.
I might have another look. Although I have no money because just festivals.
It mounts up. Yeah,
especially because everything's up north. All authors live up north, and it's expensive to get up north when you live down south. And
we're in Essex, so it is a bit of a trek. I mean, it wasn't too bad to get over to Crime Fest in Bristol. It's a bit of a drive, but I got there. And we will, because there's two of us, which is the crazy thing about this country, is that it is cheaper for me to drive 200 odd miles to Harrogate than it is to catch the train, because there's two of us. And this sounds really bad, but because it's deductible for me, because obviously I'm an author, it's part of my job. I'm even with the petrol price at the moment, it's very cheap because it's tax deductible, and which is a crazy system. But I've never been able to figure out how you fix it. because you couldn't.
On the other side, because I'm on my own always. I'm on my own. I travel on my own. It's cheaper for me to get the train than fill my car up with petrol, especially with the prices now. I went to Wigan this weekend just gone, and it would have cost me probably £100 to fill my car up. Then I'd have had to fill it up £100 when I got home, or £80 for the train. So I got the train.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Plus I can read on the train and not, it was it was easier on the way there. On the way home, trains were cancelled and there were strikes and it was hell, but whatever.
Oh yeah. we tried to come back from Florence on Friday. That was fun. Thank you, British Airways. They cancelled our return flight and just didn't speak to us. There was nobody. This is 7:00 in the evening in Florence Airport, and we were told that all airline staff had gone home for the evening. All. I said, hang on a second, you just cancelled a load of flights. And there's a load of, and the woman was like, no, hang on, that's not me, that's the airlines. And apparently there was a customer service rep, and this woman was talking to her, trying to work out how they were going to, what do we do? You've just cancelled our flights. What's the next step for us? And she just suddenly got up and said, I'm done for the day, and just walked off. So, oh. So yes, that was fun. Wow. So then, so British Airways, we've got through on the phone. Absolutely shocking, and I'm going to make sure this is archived on YouTube. The most appalling customer service ever. Just weren't interested. We explained. They said, "Oh, we can get you back on Monday." It's Friday. No, that's not good enough. I said, "Book us into another airline, because by law they have to." Can't do that. No, by law you have to. Can't do that. No, legally you have to. Can't do it. And it was like, so I ended up having to do it ourselves online, and it was just a nightmare. And then Lufthansa the next day, they were fantastic in the sense that we missed the connecting flight from Munich, but I queued, and there was a very long queue for us to try and get onto a flight. We noticed there was one later that evening, and so I thought, I don't know if we're going to get on this one. So I went for a wander, and I found, the executive lounge where I thought, I'll go in there, I don't care. I walked in and just walked up to the desk and explained. And the guy said, hang on a second. He said, have you not got? He said, what do you mean? He said, you must already be booked on. I said, what do you mean I'm already booked on? He said, check your email. Looked on it. He just said, you've missed your flight. So we booked you onto this flight. I'd even asked. Now, we were on standby, and this is a bit of a hairy moment. Would we get on? Would we get off? But there you go. Automatic. Don't even ask. They just look at it and say, well, obviously he's going to want the next flight. So let's just book him on there. Yeah, listen carefully, British Airways. That's how it works. So yeah, that was fun. And then there was the tube and the rail strikes when we got back to London. So that was amazing.
Yeah.
Yay, public service.
I mean, I was in Wigan and I'm on my own, and I've got to get to Bedfordshire. So
it's quite a trek.
Quite long, but whatever, I wasn't phased. I knew I'd get home eventually. I know roughly where to go and stuff. But to be fair, the people at the train station in Wigan, and then the next one along after the bus replacement, couldn't have been more helpful.
No.
So it's fair play to them. Then get to London and it's just like sheep and just people shouting at you and stuff. And it's
it's Heathrow's just hell on earth. We weren't even we deliberately avoid Heathrow, but we had no choice. It was flying us in there, and we've got to get across London then to get back to Essex, and that was fun. But we ended up staying in Florence. We had to book a hotel, obviously, all of which BA you're supposed to pay us back for. So that'll be the next fight. But they put us up in this hotel. It's a chain, apparently, although there's none in the UK yet, called 25 Hours. And basically, it's the hotel's theme. We had no idea about this. It was just the only one we could find in Florence with no notice. It's Dante's Inferno. So the place is bright red. As you walk down the corridor, there are skeletal hands and stuff. It looks like a really dodgy brothel. But I tell you what, it was awesome. I mean, this place was incredible. And you go in, and the bathroom just has on the doors, welcome to hell. So I just took a video and just WhatsApped it to all our families, and they were like, oh my God, this is terrible. I'm like, no, this is great. I'll go back. But also really eco-friendly. They had loads of, they provided you with bags for life for you to use while you're there. Asked you, would you mind giving them back? The minibar had a lot of stuff in, was just said, look, just free, help self. just amazing. We loved it, and I would actually stay there if voluntarily. But yeah, absolutely nuts, the whole thing. I mean, the contrast of that to the hellhole that is Florence Airport when everybody's flights have been cancelled and it's 32 degrees. That's fun. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. But I am probably going to kill someone from an airline. I've just trying to figure this out. I was looking at my next target. Who am I going to kill? And I'm going to kill. Definitely got to be somebody from an airline's going to be killed, and somebody from Brothers Wireless Printers. Because oh my God, 4 years I've had that printer, no problems at all. Both of us lost connectivity, never got it back. I now have a network cable dangling across the hallway because it's the only way I can get it to print. And it's just like, why are you doing this? You only do it when I need it. Okay. So yeah, I think a printer engineer strangled with a network cable would seem to be the most appropriate way of doing this.
I totally join you. I fucking hate printers. Yeah, they are my absolute nemesis. They're absolute wankers.
I worked it out. I've owned a printer of some description. I worked at for 27 years. So when I got my first ever computer, my dad gave me a second-hand inkjet printer to go with it when I was at uni. And in 27 years, we've gone from parallel cables to USB to wireless. None of them ever connect properly. 27 years. Okay. I mean, they can practically make you a cup of coffee and fly you to the moon with all these wonderful things. Oh, our new printer can do this. No, I just want one that connects. That'll do me. I'm just trying to print out a copy of my novel. All right. So, tractor feed paper and courier. That'll do. I just want text that I can scribble on in red pen. I want all this other crap that comes with it. But no, it just won't connect, and it's driven me absolutely mad. And the other printer we have another printer that's much better for printing, doing arty crafty stuff. That's specifically what that was bought for, and that won't connect either. And it's just like I've lost both printers. Why? And what's really funny is when I put an angry tweet out, and tag in @BrotherUK, they give it a thumbs up. No, have you read it? Give it a thumbs up. I'm not praising you. Read it. Quite the opposite. Yeah. So yeah, definitely killing off a printer executive, no question, and it'll be gruesome. It's going to be nasty. Yeah, because I know that all the readers will be on my side.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, absolutely.
You can alienate readers, by harming a dog. But I think if you were to murder an executive from either an airline or a printer, I think you've got no problems at all. I reckon if you were to take a puppy and put it in a BA uniform at the moment, you could get away with being cool with it in the book. I think you could just about. Anybody who took their kids away on half term or went away for a short break after half term would just be like, yeah, I know I don't like seeing cruelty to animals, but it was wearing a BA uniform. I'm going to hate speech now. It's going to be a protected minority with so much trouble. He's so angry, that man. What's wrong with him? Everyone's going to avoid me at Harrogate. He's the angry man in the hat, isn't he?
See, I'm writing. I've done NaNoWriMo, and I'm writing a book because I wanted to kill someone, and I can't kill them in real life, so I have to kill them fictionally.
It's great.
And I do wonder what people are going to think when they read it, because I've tortured him a little bit, quite a lot actually, because he's a fucking knobhead, and I would quite like to hurt him.
But this is why writers are so nice in real life. Crime writers are lovely. I mean, romance writers apparently hate each other. What I can tell, I went out with a load. Because my publisher had a load, and they just spent all night bitching about other writers. And I'm sitting there thinking, I really like the right writers. Since I've been in the business, I've learned there's one or two individuals who are apparently a bit shady, but vast majority of them are just genuinely sweet people. And you think, it's because you get the opportunity to kill people. It's yin and yang, you see. If you're a crime writer and you kill people nastily, then that's all the negativity out of your soul, and therefore it's what's left is positive. Whereas if you're a romance writer writing saccharine, lovely, sweet, everybody's happy, then that's the positivity out of your soul onto the paper, leaving only a shriveled lump of negativity, like a small prune. That's my theory. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not sure if it would stand up to serious scrutiny, but I think that works.
No. Well, yeah, it's interesting because the weekend of Crime Fest I was involved in organising a signing event.
Yeah, the Nottingham thing, which I would have gone to if it hadn't clashed. I remember as soon as they launched it, I said, yeah.
And we had like multi-genres, and there was obviously I can't really say anything, but there was
exactly. You've got the romance writers walking around in basically a big circle so they can all stab each other in the back simultaneously. You've got the crime writers in a great big huddle, and then you've got the sci-fi writers just which I'm so sorry. I apologize profusely to my sci-fi writers friends, and as a big fan of sci-fi, I know that's a terrible stereotype, but I'm too weak-willed not to make a joke about it.
All I know is I was hugged to death by everybody. I've never been hugged so much in my life, and it was amazing. I loved it.
Crime Fest was technically my stag do, but I'm wearing a mask, and it's because I'm under strict orders: do not bring anything back from Crime Fest. So I'm looking at tweets. One or two people said, "Oh, I've just tested positive," and I'm thinking, didn't speak to them. Didn't that be all right? I would not be popular 10 days before the wedding to got COVID, but there was a lot of hugging going on, I have to say. And fortunately, as a non-drinker, I'm very good at ducking. Here comes the hug. Oh, he's down, he's under. So,
I like hugs, so I was fine.
I don't mind them too much, but I tend not to initiate them. I'm not overly tactile in that respect. And it's funny because obviously there's been these big serious issues with certain writers being a lot more tactile than is appropriate. And you think, I don't initiate hugs unless it's a very, very dear friend, which means that as an added bonus and side effect of that, hopefully. Don't upset anyone.
I totally forgot about that, and it's never crossed my mind because I guess my mind doesn't work that way. But to
be fair, a lot of these writers are hugging people by pinching their asses, and I think that they're not quite making the difference between the two. That's the big thing. So I've heard some stories.
Yeah, I have as well. Or rumours of. But if someone done that to me, I'd slap them. So.
Absolutely, it's a shame, and it made me so angry. Actually, I was reading about this because I read a number of female writers and or readers who go to these things sort of shared stories. They didn't name anyone, but they shared stories when it happened, and I was so angry because I looked at it and thought, I've always associated these literary festivals with nothing but positivity. We go there, we have a great fun, we talk about something we love, we're meeting people, and the thought that I come away having had a fantastic weekend, and that kind of hollow feeling you get when it's finished, and you're like, oh God, if it just gone for another couple of days, it would have been wonderful. And then I read about people who went there and didn't have that experience, and it just makes me so angry and quite upset as well. I just think that's so unfair. This person has actually taken away from this festival unpleasant memories, and I think, oh no, that's really, really makes me angry. So I would hope that I can be trusted to have a word with someone if necessary, or back you up if needs be. But yeah,
I'd probably hug you just to warn you.
Oh, that's fine. People. Don't worry about it. Don't worry. Like I said, just don't pinch me bum. That's all I ask. It's all I ask. Just leave me.
I'm not that confident.
Yeah.
It took me enough to speak to people last year, so hugging is, I'm better. So going in for that now.
I'm no doubt. I like to think I'm quite huggable, but there's a few people I've not seen for a few years. I am certain, and I will not begrudge them if they come over to me and greet me in the time-honoured fashion. But I wouldn't initiate it myself. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
Just in case it's not received properly, because not everyone wants a hug. So, yeah.
I've been promised quite a few drinks as well. So if everyone comes through and buys me all the drinks I've been promised, I'm just going to be fucking wasted.
Well, the thing about Harrogate, Harrogate's great. I could take a fiver with me and have change, because I drink soda water and blackcurrant because they never have any decent alcohol-free beers. And what's really funny is, but at the end of the first night, the bar staff recognised me and just go, "Oh no, don't worry about it. They can't be bothered to open till for 30 pence." So I guzzled so much of this. I mean, I am sick of the sight of it, but especially in summer when it's hot and you're drinking more. And yeah, I mean, I'll come home with £3 and be £5 note still there. Great.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, I can't afford to buy anything but when I'm there, so hopefully people come through. Otherwise, I'm just going to...
Yeah, exactly. You're going to be dehydrated in the corner.
Yeah, literally.
She's waiting for someone to get her a drink. You promised her a drink. And look at that. She's dried out, just like... she's like one of the dried chilies you get. Or chili mushroom.
At least 100 people or something or more. So,
so if they do all come through, you're either going to be all dried out like a porcini mushroom in a bag, or you're going to be basically having your stomach popped. It's going to be one of the two.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there will be no middle ground whatsoever. Which is fine, whatever. I'm going to enjoy it either way. Well, perhaps not if I'm a prude in the corner, but whatever. Go back to the hotel and drink the tap water.
So anyway, if you're desperate, soda water and blackcurrant is what you want. That's
noted. I love blackcurrant as well. Blackcurrant's my favourite.
Go then. Yeah, easy.
Noted. Yeah, cheaper than coffee as well. Coffee's well expensive at Harrogate.
Yeah, but much cheaper. Yeah.
I need coffee in the morning.
And they never have decaf. No one ever has decaf. I've taken to now, we just routinely nick all decaf sachets out of hotel rooms whenever we see them. So some of them, 2017 coffee doesn't taste much worse than 2021 coffee, I found, because obviously that was kind of some of those sachets. They were a couple of years old before the pandemic struck, and I haven't been anywhere since. So they taste all right. Yeah.
Well, when you need it. I mean, I think decaf is just the work of the devil and pointless, but each to their own.
I've just had a can of decaf Coke. I'm sitting here drinking a shandy of decaf of alcohol-free beer, and my lovely wife has just handed me a decaf coffee. So yeah, you'd love our house.
I had a double espresso about 10 o'clock at night and slept absolutely fine.
Wow. Once upon a time, I probably could have done that, but not so much these days. No, I'd have really noticed that. Yeah, shaking hands and the palpitations would have given that away.
I mean, that was the day that I travelled up to Wigan, and I'd been awake early. But even still, like double espresso, and I was still just like, I think I slept about 9 hours as well, or even more than that. So yeah. Try double espresso then.
Mm-hmm. My wife's just commented she's going to try a double espresso.
Before I go to bed, if it makes you sleep 9 hours.
Yeah, exactly. Before she goes to bed, if it works. Yeah, good. Yeah, good idea. So we'll try. It's got to be worth a punt, hasn't it?
Yeah, I'm weird though, and unique possibly. So I wouldn't recommend it necessarily. I've had three black coffees today as well, but I have been up since like 4:45. So.
Fair enough. That was one of the weird things actually. I would go into the staff room and I get to school at 7. So I've been up at 6:15, driven into work, got into the classroom at 7 o'clock, and someone had got milk, and there'd just be a whole load of teachers just looking horrified that there's no milk in the fridge, and I'm there. I'm like, well, I don't need caffeine first thing in the morning because I don't drink it, so I'm absolutely fine. I'm no different to normal. And I was just like, you sure you're a teacher and a writer?
I walk into work, I start at 6, and I walk in and just get past coffee. Just that no one even asked, I just get past coffee. And then I don't even have to ask, and I get sent another one, and then another one sometimes. Thanks.
Good work, mates.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I used to be banned from having 3 because it used to make me go hyper, but now it doesn't. I'm just like, ugh.
Yeah, exactly. You're right now, yeah.
Yeah. We seem to have slightly strayed off topic.
We have. We can go back to talk about books if you want. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
what
it's
would
up
you like
to
to
you.
talk about?
Well, one of the questions that I asked Mark that possibly he thought I was weird for asking was, if you were a fictional killer, how would you kill your victims?
Ooh, that's good. Yeah, that's not weird. Come on, Billingham, you've asked worse than that, surely. Right. How would I kill people?
I don't know if he was scared in general or just scared of me.
Yeah, it might have been
sure.
that. Yeah, that you were sort of giving him idea. He was giving you ideas. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, the question is, do you go for spectacular or do you go for something that doesn't even get noticed? And that's a tricky one. So for the spectacular, you've got to get away with it, or you make it look like it was a spectacular accident. Fast moving trains are always good.
Yeah.
So I'm reckoning, you find the blind spot on the train station where the CCTV doesn't cover it. Your person's there waiting, and of course it's just 2022, so they're going to be staring gormlessly at their phone and have the faintest idea who's around. You go in with your coat on, but you've got one of those, those coats you flip around, colour changes. One of those. So you walk into the station with, shall we say, your red coat on. Out of sight of the cameras, you turn it to black, just in case you are seen. As you then walk across the platform, they're in a dead zone. Whoops, daisy, give them a push in front of the train as it comes out, walk back out the station, flip back into the red, and all they've seen is somebody in red walking. And then you could even run out in red, because then people would just assume that you've just seen it and you're that horrified that you've run out of the station. So I think you do that. Make sure you don't look at the cameras. Problem is, though, of course, there's the hidden cameras that you don't see. So everyone keeps the face away from the big overt camera, thus looking straight into the hidden camera.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were doing that. They were doing that 25 years ago in the department store I used to work in. You used to have one of those big ones that looks like the head of a Dalek that moves around periodically. And we were like, and it had their slits. So it would move around and the slit's not looking at you. So you think, I'm all right. And I mentioned this to one of the security guards. He went, that's just basically a dustbin that turns around. He says the camera's inside. He says the cameras never change direction. They know exactly where all the blind spots are. He said, but by moving that, he says, you see people just trying to pretend that they're not doing anything. Then then that moves it. Right, okay, now they shove it in the bag. And you're thinking, no, we've just got the whole thing on camera.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, see, Mark said that he would drown someone, but he was going to drown husband or wife. I'm like, yeah, but the first person they look at is your partner. So, just FYI, probably you need to kill a stranger. And I think that might have been the first thing that freaked him out. The second thing possibly is when someone asked me that question, I said I'd stab someone 100 times. So, I mean,
and if it's a stranger, all the psychologists go, stabbed them 100 times. Passion, hatred, clearly had a terrible relationship. Somebody intimate, somebody you need to be close looking for. Not just some weirdo that they met. Yeah.
Plus, out of your race, because generally people kill within their own race as well. So,
although apparently, because I did a little bit of research, in fact, you'll see in Time to Kill, I have a criminal psychologist who people might recognise from telly. It's a very fictionalised version of this person, but they might realise who see some of the in jokes there. They're saying how that these are these stereotypes that have been developed, and they're stereotypes because a lot of the work came obviously out of the behavioural science unit, as you know, because you're criminology, but you can only get it from the people who will talk to you. So the introverts who don't say anything, you don't get any data points from them. So it's that kind of, they're all white middle-aged men. That's because white middle-aged men like to chat.
I love all that. I absolutely love all the criminal psychology. I just think the way that memory is so fallible and it's so easy to manipulate. I went to watch a talk called The Psychology of Serial Killers, some woman. It was absolutely fascinating. So interesting. Yeah. I love it. I think it's, anyway, we strayed again.
Yes, we have strayed again. Yes.
And the other question I like to ask on the back of that is, if you were fictionally murdered, who would you want to solve your case?
Oh, right. Well, Warren Jones, he would get there. He would get there in the end with his team. I reckon They got a pretty successful batting average, so I definitely want them on the team. But who else will I? Washington Poe, because I like the idea that, first of all, whoever killed me would be thoroughly humiliated by Tilly Bradshaw, who would show them up because she's an intellectual colossus. And then Washington would be really rude to them. He would say something entirely inappropriate to them that, and I quite like that, not only caught, but also captured by someone who's incredibly rude. Yeah, I'm trying to think of any, because these days, actually Jack Reacher would be good, because the chances are the guy would get a damn good kicking as well.
See, this was my answer. That was exactly my answer.
Yeah.
Whoever it was, or along the way, they'd get beaten up as well, which is great because, they get chucked in jail and nothing happens, or they get killed, whatever. But, if Jack Reacher's on the case and is going to, give them a good kicking along the way, and that's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. What I really wanted, though, is somebody also who's incredibly malicious. So this person kills me for whatever reason, gets chucked in prison. I really want somebody to start a whisper campaign. They're a paedophile. Because we all know what happens to them in prison. So the justice system sticks them away for 25 years, and then natural justice takes place. Yeah, that's really really wrong. I shouldn't have said that. But, I'm allowed to be vindictive. Someone's just murdered me.
Yeah.
You've seen how lovable I am. There can't have possibly been any valid reason for killing me. No. So, get what they deserve.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Yeah. I'm glad that it's not just me that's completely weird. And I love how every author, or almost every author, doesn't go, oh, I don't know, I've never thought about that. And they're like, well, I will do this and I will do this.
It's crossed my mind.
One guy just said he was going to walk on a cliff and just go, whoops. I was like, yeah, that's cool.
As long as you don't hit him hard enough that you leave bruising. Do it with gloves on so you don't leave fingerprints. Make sure you get rid of those gloves. You wear 2 pairs, obviously, because you want one pair that could have your DNA and a second pair on the outside won't have your DNA. Make sure you dispose them in 2 different bins. If they're latex gloves, you might be able to get away with burning them, but it's a bit smelly and attracts tension. But you don't want the fiber transfer. Yeah, I think all those things could be done. Probably unlikely to be any CCTV cameras. Make sure there's no parked cars nearby because they might have a dash cam. But yeah, I reckon it's doable, and ideally make it so that that it looks as though you've lost out from them dying.
Yeah, because obviously there's the genuine reasons as the normal, and gaming is one of them. So yeah, if you lose out, then
yeah, terrible that this person died. Look what position it's left me in. Yeah, that's tricky. You've got to come up with something really good then. Yeah, it might be that secretly you want to be a pauper, and so they've died, and you haven't got any life insurance or anything like that. Or you do the classic strangers on train. You kill each other's victim with no link between you. Yeah. How do you meet up with them though? I mean, do you put something on Craigslist? looking for partner to kill someone on my behalf. I'm willing to return the favor.
You've got to do it by either the columns, looking for in newspapers and stuff. But I guess the more modern version, whatever that would be.
Yeah.
Because no one looks at them. Who reads them anyway?
No, exactly.
So then you could easily put secret messages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Blimey, we've been going for an hour and a half.
Have we? Jesus Christ.
We have. Right, okay.
We hardly mentioned books either, but hey.
We did at the beginning. I have busy plugged lots of other authors, which is absolutely fine. Yes. So my plug, it's A Time to Kill is my one. It's just out 2 weeks ago.
Do you have a copy to hand to show us?
I do not, sadly, because paperbacks do not come out until August. So my author copies haven't arrived yet, which is a shame. I know.
You don't even have a picture on your phone or anything?
Right, picture I could well have. One may have to be a little patient here while I find it. We're not hugely organised at the moment because we had a lot on our plates before the book was moved forward. And my editor sort of emailed me and said, "Well, you know, we're going to move forward. Is that okay?" They sort of batted around some ideas. And how about the first of June? I said, "Well, I'm getting married that day. Perhaps not the best day." Right. Okay. This is annoying. This is Instagram. So I've got to hold it because it won't let me hold the pinch. Oh, my hand's annoying. Oh, Instagram, I hate you. Oh, there we go. That looks all right.
Yay, there we go.
Time to Kill. There we go. Time to Kill. Yes. So, yeah, that's out on Kindle. Audiobook. My long-standing audio narrator, Mark Williams, is currently recording it. He's already sent me queries like, how on earth do I pronounce this? And I found a typo. So it'll be like this for the next couple of weeks. Yeah, it's great. It's wonderful that he was able to do it again. And hopefully, because next year's book, I'm currently just doing the final edits before it goes off to the publisher for them to edit. This is my final draft. Hopefully he'll be able to do next year as well, which would be lovely, because then I've got all of the books done by the same guy. Yeah.
Fabulous. So before we go, would you just like to tell everyone where they can find out more about you, and apart from Amazon, where they can get your books from?
Right. So my website, paulgitsham.com, paulgitsham.com. I have 2 blogs on that website. There is the recommended reads blogs. As I've said before, it is literally only books that I recommend because I really enjoyed them. And then there is writing tips. So if you are an aspiring writer or you're just interested in looking behind the curtain, I have a Tuesday tip that is put on the blog every week. Everything from craft to sometimes just my thoughts on the writing industry.
Which you share in my group, don't you?
I do now, yes. So you can find me on Twitter at DCI Jones Writer and on Instagram at Paul Gitsham, and DCI Jones on Facebook. Those are my main social media channels. Won't bother looking for me on LinkedIn. Waste time.
Well, right. Fabulous. Thank you very much.
Lovely to speak to you as always, Donna. And I look forward to seeing you in Harrogate.
Yes, you too.
Yes. Fantastic.